Good morning, Quasar Markets Live. Sorry, I had a little fire alarm thing going off here. Hope everyone's having a good day. BigBeat, how are you doing this morning?
Good morning, Howard. Yeah, look, I always said it for the last 3 weeks, and here we are. Howard, it's stick to the guns. Look, any good news comes out, and boom, the market's going to take off. And here it is. Look, Elon Musk leaving the government here in a few weeks, and he said he failed at Doge. Look, it's hard governing. We've been saying this. Those of us like yourself that been around the government, it's not easy. It's not easy to govern, right? You can say all you want, you can be pontificating all you want, and I think having a different perspective now for him, might help him understand a little bit of the government. And I like that, and I appreciate the honesty of him saying like it's not easy, right? Second level of this, you see Trump now saying I'm not going to go after the chair of the Federal Reserve. Good, welcome to the world here. And you're seeing some things coming out of the Ukraine. All of a sudden, things are good. Guess what happens? Market goes up 2 straight days. Yesterday, I think I made the mistake of getting out. You made the play right that I always say is putting trailing stops. I didn't do that yesterday. I took profit, but decided that once all this good news came out, I'm back in. I went back in right after that after the show yesterday because I realized that hey. The news is going to get better and better, so I'm pretty excited about it. I'm staying long now. I think it's not clear sailing. I mean, we're not seeing that, but at least things are much better.
Yeah, definitely. Can't argue. We had a great day yesterday, up 2.5%, 3% across a lot of different areas of the markets. Ready to open up over 3% to the upside right now on the Qs. Bitcoin, like you said, exceeded even my expectations yesterday of 92, continue to run to 94. Hitting a little sell-off there. Be interesting to see what if 90 becomes a good support level now, what goes on there. The big whale that had a huge sell wall on Binance pulled it off yesterday, and that sort of led to that run. Does he put it back in, or does he now going long? Most of the talk about the whale accumulation that happened over the last few weeks, what I've been talking about here, retail got shook out, and guess what? Now the whale is going to let it run up. And they're gonna.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on who the whale is. I don't think we know who the whale is, unless you
Chinese entity. All we know is it's a Chinese entity,
right? And I think that they were basing on the fact that hey, we're not going to give in to Trump's demands, and they knew that, So what's going to happen here? And all of a sudden, that wall comes off. So yeah, I know I agree with that, and that's good. There's always going to be sellers out there because there are miners, right? There are going to be sellers out there that have been in the beginning, but I think it's not completely clear sailing to 250,000, but we're going there now. I think this administration is very positive about crypto, and so here we go. I think it's good.
Yeah, definitely very positive across that for sure. Yeah, I think earnings are having a lot more to do than the news for once too. Personally.
Yes, agreed.
Earnings have been outstanding across a large swath of the markets, and that has things moving up because things were down yesterday. If we look through yesterday, you still had things like Halliburton and Northern Grumman and others that did not have good earnings reports or did not project to have good sales coming forward, and those companies declined. We're seeing it today. M-Phase down about 11% the pre-market after they missed their Q1. But on the other side of it, Pegasystems, a company my sister once worked for, up 25% in a pre-market after their blowout Q1. AI company out of New England, out of Boston, that has sort of made the move from being a defense contractor to being an AI-based company. So nice moves there. You had Packaging Corp of America with some really strong earnings also. Not seeing that result in any good movement. Lennox, so they're slipping about 5%. Doesn't look like people are buying much Lennox Crystal right now. They had a Q1 earnings miss, and they're moving. The one that still has me a little concerned that we could see some bad ones, Otis did theirs. Otis is a huge manufacturer. As you probably know, they make almost every elevator you see. Their sales fell off soft China demand. So they're one of the first companies that really focuses heavily over in China. They see it. One of the ones we've been talking about finally had a nice move. BA, Boeing, nice Q1 beat here, moved to the upside. And then one you and I both missed, VRT, booming after their AI.
Missed that one, yeah.
After their earnings, we had not been that positive. I didn't know that much about them. I forgot that they were the partner with NVIDIA on those on the data centers. In fact, VRT was one of the ones that I pulled out of NVIDIA's earnings report last earning report. So shame on me, because I actually was a fan of that stock earlier. They were one of the companies like Carrier and a couple of others that were mentioned directly in NVIDIA's earnings report, or not earnings report, but Jensen Huang's speech. So there, we still got a few on deck later today, but most of the major ones are done. This morning, again, led by Boeing. We do have on deck still, I believe, URI and Discover that haven't come out yet. So I will check those and see if they are out yet. But tick looking great. Everything moving to the upside. Steve, I got to ask, though, why are rates not coming down, and especially mortgage rates?
I mean, I made a big post about that this morning. Look, I think it's a matter of time at this point now. I think the Fed now has to say, look, okay, we are data dependent. We are in this. I think now the rates do come down. Mortgage applications fell 18%. That's really bad. People are, homes are not selling. Obviously, Canadians are not coming down to the United States. It's hurting U.S. Housing markets. Mortgage apps are falling apart. I think the Fed is now saying, look, tariffs are starting to come into play a little bit, and we're okay. Earnings are slipping a bit, not good. Layoffs, we just saw Intel laying off 20%. Is that right? I think I saw 20% of their. Wow. Now you've got, okay, so your two things are unemployment is one of them, right? The Fed, okay, Mr. Fed, time to understand you were again wrong, and the president was right about lowering rates. The Fed's always behind. They just can't help themselves. They use old data. They need to upgrade their machines. I don't know. Do they need a new Dell computer? I don't know. Right. That equates our markets, right? By the way, thank you, Atlanta Fed, for adding me to the advisory committee. Look, there's two things here. The first thing is, when you're looking at this from an outside perspective, is what are the Fed actually looking at? And in this case, the Fed says that they're looking at jobs and they're looking at the tariffs. They told you that. The uncertainty in the markets make them nervous, so they don't feel like they can do anything. They said that inflation's a problem, right? Well, if mortgage apps are falling, that means people don't really have that extra big money to go out and put that money down on a new home or even a used home. So the second thing that you got to look at is the sheer number of jobs that are being lost. And right now, quite a few are being lost. So those things should put the Fed in play. The Fed's now we all know what happens with the Fed. They all change the narrative. And so expect the narrative to change again. Let's hear the talking heads probably they're scrambling right now. Look, Neil Kashkari is scrambling right now to change his speeches. You had a chance, right? And I tell you, if you want to talk about it, Chicago was right. And I think that I think we're going to see in the May meeting a quarter point cut, and I don't think it'll be a slamming one. I don't think it'll be a 50 points. That's a little much. If it does, then we're in a bigger problem than we think. But I think we're in a bigger problem than we think. We already know that, right? But I do think that we will see a cut, a nice easy one. And I think that will start the process. Again, Fed will be behind the curve, but at least they'll be going in the right direction.
Yeah, we can only hope for that. Move in the right direction for sure. We have PMI today on deck, Steve, new home sales and the beige book. So we'll see what comes out of those so far this morning. Overnight, Nikkei did move up about 2% as the U.S.-China tension starts to slow down. Same thing, Hong Kong saw the Hang Seng jump about 2.46%, although the Shanghai composite remained relatively flat. Most of Europe was up slightly here. France was the bigger winner. The CAC 40 was up about 0.8. Germany DAX increased only 0.4, but I will point out that they had a huge boost by SAP. Europe's largest company had great earnings report and had a nice move to the upside today. So it's good to see one of the major companies out of Europe moving to the upside.
I'll tell you who's very quiet this morning, and that's Peter Schiff. Gold getting absolutely slaughtered this morning here.
Yeah, gold down about 2% from its highs, profit taking after the recent surge, and the dollar booming back a little bit, helping there or causing some issues. But again, not surprising. I mean, if
No.
you got, the 3,000 to 3,500 was pretty quick. That's a nice little increase. I would suggest taking profit also. But, we'll see if it holds up too. If, what happens on some of these. We've seen some temporary sell-offs and they come back right back strong on gold. Oil did go up a little bit, almost a full percentage point yesterday. Also, Steve, 62.98 on WTI.
63.34 right now on the spot. I mean, it's pushing here now pretty fast. But we're still not out of the woods. And I think a lot of people realize that they're not out of the woods just yet. I don't know. I think that oil should get back to $65 a barrel soon. But there's a lot going on here.
Yep. DXY did gain about 1% yesterday. Also, as we know, Bitcoin, which is now back above 94, I believe, was up 4.6% yesterday. And Ethereum nicely has been holding 1,800, that key support level I talked about yesterday. So far, that's holding up pretty well. Yesterday's big winners, Equifax, had a strong earnings report. First Solar looks like the solar company that's going to be the big winner from these tariffs if they do stay in place. Didn't realize so many of those other companies like Enphase were getting them out of Vietnam and other countries. Yeah. So that is helping First Solar a lot.
The Equifax question is important because what they're saying is the number of people that are defaulting and looking for loans are high, both sides, right? People looking for loans because they need money, but the banks are saying no. So guess what they're doing? They're pulling those credit reports and they're making money. And so Equifax is making a ton of money. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be giving them the money. So I think Equifax might continue here.
It's almost like we talk about, good news or bad news. As the market moves a lot, it's good for Coinbase, it's good for Robinhood, it's good for Schwab, because people are either selling or buying. It doesn't matter to them. They just want the trading fees. And we saw that in earnings reports, right? Laggards yesterday, Northrop Grumman, like we talked about, RTX, and Northrop Grumman talked about losing their contract for the B-21 bombers. RTX down almost 10% also on tariff write-offs of about $850 million. So again, what I liked to see yesterday is we had some nice winners. We had some nice losers, although we never want to say nice loser. But, to do it. Lucky Chart, you're asking me if we're expecting to see crypto outpace the market again today. Yeah, I do. I think that the markets are a little overblown right now. We do have upside on the Qs to about 466, but that's that key resistance. That I do want to point that out to everybody. I'm not presented. Hold on.
Back above 94,000 now on Bitcoin here.
Nice.
94.1 now. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think there's nothing stopping it now.
And what we have is still this key resistance that I'd marked out at 466. That was the support here throughout most of the early March that we haven't been able to break through, even on the huge day move up that we had on the 9th, Liberation Day there, whatever it was called. So I have to see us break that 466 to say we're breaking out of the bearish pattern and actually moving to the next level. Whereas with Bitcoin, like you just said, I think we have already moved to that next level. In fact, I've changed my charts a little bit here to where I'm looking at, putting in my wish list order somewhere around this 87,333 number now is what I'm sort of looking at as, I play that, by the dip game. So, again, we've got room up to about 95,152, which was the high we saw on March 2nd. That's going to be the spot that I'm watching. Any break over that sends us back up nicely towards 100K, but there's a huge sell wall formed there too. So we've got a sell wall at 95 to break. We got a sell wall at 100. We haven't seen a real support level settle in yet. Be interested to see if we see a bunch of it at that 88,566 where the 200-day MA is, or does that 90,000 actually return as it? Keep in mind, again, also, we haven't spent a lot of time in between that 90 and 95,000. We've sort of jumped through that zone every single time. So we don't have a lot of price discovery there to help.
Back in February, we hit 108. What's the chance of it going back there, Howard?
Right now, I think we got a lot still in the way of that 108, 109. It hit 109, 391. Like I said, I think 100's a very tough spot to break through. For us, on our first breakdown after making those highs, we tried for about 12, 13 straight days to break that area, and we weren't able to do it. So for me, I'd have to see, it would take a lot. It would take a lot. I think retail is still spooked out. I think that you got a lot of burnt people that were stupid and didn't listen to us and bought at the highs. Like I said, I'm not buying at 95,000. I'm not a buyer. I'm either, I'm a buyer at 87. I'm a buyer at 83 right now. That's the two zones I've leveled out.
It's interesting. Why were people, like you and I bought a 77 too. That's where I was at. Why were people nervous then? What was the overall arching feel that outside of the tariffs and Trump was it an overarching feel that crypto was just going to fail and Bitcoin is over in the world of
no, it was all that retail that bought in that got out. It's just that simple. It was all look at the inflows and outflows of the ETFs. That's retail traders.
Yeah,
they jumped in expecting here's the problem. You break 100, it hits all the news again. Everybody talks about how Michael Thaler's up $17 trillion on his buy and El Salvador is up $1 billion. And then everyone that is new to it says, well, this must be a good time to buy. No, it's a horrible time to buy. You're at
horrible time to buy.
And that's when they buy. So what happens is as soon as that doesn't make the next move, they capitulate. The people who bought, that had a little bit of conviction, they panic and they capitulate. And then you got to wait for the whales to step back in. And that's who's been buying.
It bothers me because, eventually the retail going to run out of money. They're not going to have enough to be able to buy, right? 94.2 now on Bitcoin. They're not going
to. You're still talking at, rates of 10 or 15% that have invested in it so far.
Okay, I got you. All right, I understand what you're saying then. Very cool.
It's still a big world, big world out there that hasn't done it. And those areas are starting to, the underdeveloped parts of the world are already Bitcoin maximalists, most of them,
right.
Or, at least highly invested in Bitcoin. You look at participation and it's Vietnam, it's, those areas that are Nigeria, Brazil, that have seen the biggest growth in Bitcoin adoption over the last few years, El Salvador, Central America,
Agreed.
Because they needed it first. And now what's happening is as we face tariffs and inflation, who needs it now? Everybody. And that's what they'll start to realize, and it will start to decouple more from tech here, which it still needs to do. It needs to decouple from NVIDIA. It needs to decouple from the Qs. Yesterday, they traded almost in tandem. And that's not what you want. It isn't that. Ethereum is a tech. The others, Bitcoin is not. You're not trading on the technology or the future of technology when you're using Bitcoin. It's the future of money.
Mic is muted.
We are seeing the tick up still about 200 here. Advanced decline about 38.58. So with my bad math, that should come in around 5,500, I think, when we get to the open. The thing I'm most excited about, Steve, is the VIX. Broke below nicely that 30 yesterday that I had, 30.12. So now we've, given some breathing room to everybody. But it's the thing I'm also going to be watching the closest here on the cash open. Do we start to fall back down to that level, towards 23, 24? Or do we shoot right back up towards 30? I think that's going to be the things to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's nothing stopping this market today. Let's see how the algos accept the market early. But I like this. Look, you're right. There's one there we talked about a lot is NVIDIA. Howard, 104.20.
Yeah, I mean, biggest pre-market gainers in the S&P and large cap NASDAQ are Tesla, GE, Verona, and NVIDIA. It's the big names. So they're the ones, and we talked about this, right? Best in class is where to look.
That's right.
I think a lot of the stuff that we've talked about over the last 3-4 months, are playing out. And again, we're not saying we're out of the woods, and we're not saying we see a V-shaped recovery. At least I'm not. I'm still in that U-shaped recovery, and we're getting back to the middle of the U, so to speak, instead of being at the bottom. So that's
Yes,
my
we
view
are,
on it.
and I'll tell you, the last few days have been making me nervous about Nvidia. I don't like getting nervous, but my thesis hasn't changed. I think Nvidia is still best in class, and I'm not going to change my thesis on that. And when Wall Street starts to hate something, hate it. Go ahead, hate it. Go ahead, hate it.
Yeah, I'm with you there, and I'm just earnings reports. I already knew. I know all the bad news that's out there on the tariffs. So I quite honestly, this is the first morning I didn't put CNBC on until like 8:30. I said, you know what? I'm just going to go through my stuff without listening to them just harp on the same thing. And I'll tell you what, it was good because it allowed me to really look without the jaded views sometimes that are in there on the earnings reports and just say, okay, what happened? Look at that. Wow, Boeing, they're shipping everywhere. This China issue, not that big when they can't fill all the orders they have around the rest of the globe. Let's just reship. They'll just reship those out somewhere. AI one worries me. I would be a seller of AI today, probably. It's everything that, with Pega having that. Hey, thanks for reposting the stream for us, Lucky Charts. We love it.
Hey.
What I would say is that, these earnings have it, blasting up. And I saw it on Tempest AI was another one I saw on the gainers. Those names, remember, they're not going to be profitable. VST is booming here. It's great, but these ones tend to sell off after a little bit. So those are the ones I'm keeping an eye on. First Solar is having a great second day, by the way. I wanted to point out 10% yesterday, up 2.18%. So that one doesn't seem to be stopping so far. But Tempest AI that, in 2 days will be up 13%. If you've been in that, you're getting close to where you want to take a look at taking profit here. This 48, 49 area is going to get really rough on it. You've got resistance on a lot of names, and the Q being the biggest one of them that I'm keeping an eye on. Again, Q blast through 466, then it's go time. But it's got to blast through this 466.
We are seeing the 10-year now slipping here, 4.274. You're asking for people.
The 10-year's coming down, but you were posting about mortgage rates moving up.
Correct, they have been.
So that's what concerned me. And it was interesting because that, the data out of mortgages and everything didn't really match up with Pulte Group, by the way, I'll point out.
Yeah.
From their earnings. And again, they have moved up nicely in yesterday and today on their earnings. I have some of their figures, I think, here, but they're up a little over 10% over the 2 days. And they talked about that there are buyers. Now, I do point out one of the advantages, and I heard ads actually, and I don't remember. What was that mortgage rate that you saw is now the average? Do you have that in front of you?
Like 7% or 6 point something.
So, okay, so that's a perfect example. So one of the major home builders here, which is Fisher, is offering 5.9 buyouts to 5.9.
There you go.
So, so that could be the disconnect that I'd have to look more into Pulte's earnings to see if they gave that data, what they spent on their buy downs and that, because that was on Sirius XM while I was driving over the weekend. So that was hitting that's hitting the country, not just the area. So that was something to keep in mind, is that, that could be the disconnect between the numbers we're seeing out of the data and the earnings report that we just saw out of Pulte. So that would make me a little worried about Pulte's profitability moving forward, and would want to know a little bit more about that. All 11 sectors of the S&P finished in the green yesterday. They are all looking to do so, or at least to open up on that way today, led by technology and consumer discretionary. So again, seeing all of those move to the upside. We'll point out I'll see if that's still the case. There was not an S&P laggard yet today when you just went S&P. So hold it 1 second. Oh, I lied. Enphase. Enphase is down about 11.98%. Lennox. Oh, yeah, that's right. Earnings came out after that. Enphase, Lennox, Package Corp of America are all the big laggards right now, all based on earnings. A lot of the miners getting hit today, Steve. Also, we know they had jumped up a lot recently. Newmont down about 4.24%, SSR down 3.66%, and Royal Gold down 3.36%. So with the price of gold retreating and some of the hype there dropping down a little bit, we are seeing a little pullback across those gold miners, which would be to be expected here. We'll say Pegasystems still moving to the upside, 28.78% to the upside. The other one I noticed is two of the newer listings moving to the upside here. Webull up another 19%. We know that this thing shot up to $80 after it's open, shot all the way back down to 22.50. Nice little move back up here by it here. So we are seeing some buyers here on Webull. I've never used a platform myself, so I don't have an opinion at all. I know some beginner traders like it and some hate it. So the other one that was in the same boat, I thought was, no, not Credo. I thought for some reason CoreWeave was also, I think I just forgot to put it on my list here.
Slipping a little bit here. Advanced decline line only up 3,900 here. So
CoreWeave, the other one. So another one that had mooned up on its opening to $64, pulled all the way back to 36. Nice move up today to 42.31. So again, CoreWeave, which is a Bitcoin miner, software company, data center, they do sort of do it all. And they're basically, for those that don't know, CoreWeave basically is a conglomerate of about 3 different Bitcoin miners that ran into trouble during the last bear market and had to combine and merge together to form this new company. So it is looking like it's gaining some steam today. The other one I was looking at is getting nice steam today is SoFi. And that was after they announced they teamed up with Templeton to boost access to private market funds and are launching a new Cosmos fund class there. So they definitely, nice little move up by them. Advanced decline now over 3,900. So again, I do think we see a 5,500 or so on the open. The Q's set to open up right now at 458.44. So I mean, that's,
yeah, I think in this case, I think we need to wait to see what the open does first. Let's see what that does, and then I think we can make a better, clear picture distinction. Because right now, I think the algos are about to get nutty this morning.
Yeah, I don't think the first move is the move we're going to see end.
Correct. Yeah.
VIX 27.97 is definitely the thing I'm keeping an eye on. Like I said, it is towards the lows of the day, 27.81. So I'm liking what I'm seeing so far there. Constellation Energy up 6% this morning. Delta Airlines up another 5.63 this morning. That's almost an 8% gain in 2 days. The most making a nice little comeback, up about 6% in the last 2 days. DJT up 11% in the last 2 days. Seeing a little bounce back by some of the Chinese names today. Also, JD up about 1.31. Intel, like you talked about, after announcing they're going to lay off about 20% of their workforce, up 6.36%. And up again over 11% the last 2 days. Lennar's had another one of the home builders up in a sympathy play, in my opinion, on what we've seen out of Pulte Group, up 2.52% today, 4% yesterday. So a nice move to the upside there. We talked about Bitcoin miners yesterday. Mara up 14.4%. And now up another 4% this morning. That'd be another one that's starting to get a little frothy for me.
All right, we've got about 6 seconds here now to the open. Let's go.
Here we are open. Here we go. Everything moves to the upside to start off with. Wow, almost 6,000 on advanced decline. I was off. I thought
Yeah,
my
look at that.
500.
Tick just
Look at
jumped
that.
500. Yeah,
59.23. Nice move up here by the tick. Q's opened up right about 458. So 459. So that's what we got to keep my eye on now. 459 becomes sort of the spot we opened at. Bitcoin falls back below 94 here to 93. Oh, back above 94, getting some love.
still falling on the 10-year now. That's good.
Moving up continuously here. Another 350, 5,900 about the line we're holding here. VIX still at that 27.97, so pretty much unchanged since the cash opened. So not much movement there. Q's first move is somewhat to the downside, but a pretty muted move to the downside, and it hit 459. We're back at 458.50, so a little bit lower, not really.
Yeah, I mean, it's a profit taking, but I think silver is selling off here, which will push money into the crypto.
Gold trying to regain 3,300, not able to do so far. Take a look at the Mag 7 here. NVIDIA 104 again. When we'd said under 100, it's a bargain. You'd be at almost a 5% move to the upside already. Apple up 3.48%. Amazon really moving up nicely, 6.3% to the upside. Tesla with its terrible earnings, but now with Musk coming back up about 5.29%. Meta up 6.36. Meta and Google still have a lot of headwinds when it comes to regulatory concerns.
94.2 now, 94.3 now on Bitcoin.
Q's back above 459 here. So again, first moves are now positive here. Moving to the upside, broke through its resistance here. What was resistance? We'll see if that turns to support. Again, first sort of area I'm keeping a big eye on is about 466. I actually think we'll start to run into some headwinds about 464.50 is where you want to start watching it if we can get up that way. We are seeing CoreWeave now up 12.36, gaining steam. Same thing, Credo Technology Group, 12.78%. Tempest AI up 11.54% so far. Robinhood, nice gainer last 2 days, up another 7.5% now. VST Vistra up 8.57%. We are seeing FSLR finally slow it down here. Basically flat on the day. On the laggards, Enphase continuing to slide, now down 14.19%. We're seeing a little bit of a bounce up by package PKG, which had bad earnings. Lennox is back at the high of the day, so people are buying that dip on Lennox so far. Nice little move back up towards 520 here.
Silver is pushing a little bit here, 32.79 now. So I think it's might have hit a bottom there. That might put some pressure on Bitcoin here.
Q's trying to get across 460 here. Highs of the day. Keeps breaking to the highs of the day here. So far, we are liking what we're seeing across the markets. Tick still moving to the upside. Again, I got to see the first 25 minutes. These are all algos. I'm not fading this market yet, but I would have trailing stops in place like that.
Here we go, NVIDIA bouncing right back up. There you go.
Yeah, everything is moving back to the upside here again. So I would not be fading this rally yet.
Tick is still up 400. Oh, wow, NVIDIA. Man, that is moving around, baby.
Yeah, well, the volatility on NVIDIA, these algos are just fighting it out. I mean, that's just nuts. It moves.
The VIX is down 9% right now.
That's what I'm saying. That's what's giving us wings, keeping me happy. I haven't looked at DXY here on the open.
Oh, video dropped.
DXY 99.16, so it's actually dropped a little bit. That's interesting. Gold back at 33, so that regained 33 here. Bitcoin can't break above and hold that 94.
Yeah, there's some dumping here coming on. Profit taking is strong here.
Well, again, I mean, like I said, I think you got at 95, you're going to have a wall. So the people selling at 94 and change are following the same philosophy, you had yesterday and I had. So if you're going to take your profit, take them just be below those levels.
I think it's probably something someone said here. That's a little rough.
Yeah, Q's downturns
Trump
here.
says he is suing Perkins Coy. Wow. Okay. Mr. President, yesterday he didn't say anything yesterday, and everything was fine. Now he's beginning to talk again.
Yeah, these are just algos fighting it out on every news data point we've got.
For those of you who don't know, Perkins Coy is the law firm in Chicago. Yeah, so, I would just, yeah. Huh.
457.71. So now we're actually testing the lows of the day here on the Qs.
Nothing to do with charts. It's everything to do with.
Oh, this is just algos fighting it out again. You're at a good level. We opened up right about this. We're just pretty flat.
JetBlue up 4% here. Amazon's up 6%. I mean, I think.
Yeah, it was up 6.2. Amazon's flying. Fed's wallet does not comment on outlook for monetary policy or the economy in the welcoming remarks to the Fed's listen events.
Whoa. Okay. Popping up there again. Here we go. Whatever got cleaned out just got bought up.
Like I said, this is why I don't play in this long time frame.
Woo, look at that run. Oh my.
Well, because now we're coming. Bloomberg just came across. White House considers slashing China tariffs due to de-escalate trade.
There you go. There's the news we're looking for, baby. That's the news we're looking for. Goodbye, mama. Here we go. That is huge news right there. If you're short on that news the rest of the day, something wrong. I would not be short on that news. No way, Jose. And if they actually do something, this thing goes through the roof. Yeah, gold is dropping pretty heavy here now. Silver dropping as well. Tick went up positive at 800, now at 500 here.
Yeah, advanced decline 63.36.
Shorts
seen
got
that since Liberation Day.
Yeah, shorts got murdered on that one.
So I said I wouldn't be sure.
And here we go. Kid, what the heck is going on? Someone really is trying to short here.
Yeah, they're well again.
Okay, so they're saying now.
We just talked. Let's go back on that.
They're now saying 50 to 60% cut here. So they're not. They're slashing, but not slashing enough. So this is not. Listen, this is not based on your charts today. This is based on tweets and news. So be careful out there today. This is exactly what I've been saying. This is interesting. That's still not cutting tariffs to a point where people feel comfortable. So be careful out there. And the algos are reaching, and you're right, Howard. How the algos are definitely responding to that news.
Yeah.
Damn. Look at that move. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 points in like just a few minutes.
The other part that I'd point out is retail will get spooked by any news today or any selling because of the fact they're up 10% on some of these stocks in 2 days. We just went through a wide swath of stocks that are up 10% in 2 days. I mean, again, if people are smart, they have trailing stops in place. They have stop losses in place. They have vehicles there to lock in profits. If you're not locking in profits in a volatile market like this, you're just crazy. VIX back above 28, so keep an eye there. That doesn't spook me yet, but just keep an eye on it if it starts moving back up. But that's the part that I'm at, Steve, too, is, we've said it, right? You did yesterday. You took some profit on a great Bitcoin trade. There was nothing wrong with that. Somebody that was in, some of these things that we just talked about that are up, CEG up like 12% in 2 days. Why wouldn't you take a little bit of profit?
Yeah. I mean, obviously I did, and I got back in because I felt that some of this news is starting to chill out. And then you see news like this, right? That just, I think the White House needs a communications director, right? Carolyn Levitt is not quite up to speed.
No,
we need somebody who really level head, and we need somebody who.
But then he fires him every 15 minutes. Delta Airlines up 8.58. Nice move up there. Yeah. I mean, I'm with you there. Just I lived through the last one. I remember what that does. He just, if they don't say exactly what he wants and it aren't his bulldog, then he fires him. I mean, Scaramucci lasted how long as his chief of staff?
Yeah, the shortest in history.
Yeah, and he knows what he's doing.
And Mitch is a friend. I like Mitch, man. I like him. He's a good guy.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I mean. And he knows what I'm saying. And he knew what he was doing, and he knows the hill. I mean, this wasn't a rookie. He was a business guy. Now he's an insider. He wasn't before. 460 again. Here we go. 460.20. Still moving to the upside here.
I think we're starting to see a little bit.
Bitcoin trying to get back above 94. Like I said, I would not be short in this market. I would have stop losses in place. Because if we're starting the text this early this morning, it means they're going to come all day fast and furious.
I mean, I think the big trade today was a short and gold. I mean, that was the big easy trade today.
Bloomberg now saying China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi in a meeting with Iranian counterpart, U.S. abuse of tariffs has lost popularity, isolated itself from the international community. Can't argue with that, right?
We cannot. So we're seeing that we're hearing from Wall Street Journal,
like you said, for him changing his tune on.
So we're hearing that China's going to levy, U.S. eyes 100% China levy for items strategic to U.S. interests, according to the Wall Street Journal, and eyeing a 35% for items not deemed national security threat. So leave my new Nintendo alone. I think that's what they're saying, right? They're saying, look, if it's a U.S. product that we need badly, then we're going to tariff the heck out of it if you don't give us what we want. And then if it's not what we care about, toys and TVs, then we'll only levy 35%. So, okay. Yeah, I think we should.
IMF warns against support for tariff hit businesses as government debts surge. Those are the other things. We're going to see a lot of news coming out of D.C. today, right?
Yeah, I mean, the IMF, obviously the World Bank meetings, things of that nature are all meeting this week. So you're going to definitely see that. I really want to see more, though. I definitely want to see. I want to see some real news, some strong news, and like, oh no, this is a possibility. This is happening. And no, I want to see real news. I don't want to see. I don't want to see fake news is going to get pulled back or whatever. And I don't know. I really want to see some strong clarity, as I've been saying. Give us clarity. Tick's still up 550, and we're still seeing advanced decline up 6,400. So that's a very positive, strong day. I don't think I'd be negative at
broke
all.
through 460 here and holding
Yeah,
nice.
You're right. I wouldn't be negative at all today. Dollar's trying to get back up there. The Dixie. We'll have Steve on today. Yeah, I think so. Right?
No.
No.
What's today? Oh yeah, today's Wednesday. Yes. I got to know my days. Yes, he is on.
Man, days are starting to go by. Yeah. Really need to see a move here, though.
We'll see if we can get it. That run to 466 looks like it's in place, in my opinion. So far, SPY at up 3% itself. SPY sort of stuck right at that midpoint on the linear regression, though, here. See if we can break through that. That always causes a little bit of resistance, not as much as you find at the ends or support at the ends, but you definitely find the middle can tend to be.
Compositive PMI flash now coming in at 51.2. Forecast was for 52. We now previous reading was 53.5. So PMI coming down here a little bit.
Seeing the chips take off here today again, second day. Marvell up 9.7, ARM up 9%, AMD up 8%. So nice move up by them. Same by the banks. JP Morgan up 4%. Bank of America up 4%.
PMI coming down should be a positive. I mean, it should be adding to this thing about, hey, Mr. Fed, these numbers are not good. Global services PMI coming in at 51.4, expected 54. I mean, we're almost in contraction territory now. This should tell you everything, and we're not seeing that. This Fed needs to come back and say, okay, you know what? We've now got real news. We've now got real numbers now. So now we can cut rates. And I think and you're seeing the rates popping a little bit, 4.294 now on the 10-year. So yeah.
Yeah, and even the laggards are pushing back up. End phase we know is down almost 13%. Now only down 7.8. Otis down.
Look at Dixie, 99.37 now. Look at that pop there.
We ride down 6.7. So there are still some laggards if you're looking for them out there. Not a lot though. And this is a tough spot for me for some things to be buying also right now. So if you're in a trade, you're happy. To me, I wouldn't be chasing a trade unless I see a clear breakout.
Yeah, there is definitely not a chase today. You're not chasing anything today.
Yeah, like I said, if I see that breakout above 466, then I'm throwing everything at it. But I got to see that breakout. That's still a 6-point move to the upside would need to make. But it's jumping 461. I mean, it's trying to make me a believer. It is. It is trying to make me a believer today.
Make Bitcoin a believer.
Makes me happy. Yeah, I'm happy just trading my crypto today. And I'm in MSTR, MSTU, and Mara. So all those are up tremendously. I will probably look to take profit on my Mara here today.
Those PMI numbers were really bad. I mean, if I don't know what else the Fed needs, a slowdown is happening. I mean, I don't know what else they really need at this point.
Yeah, if you are in Mara, if you listened to me yesterday, I got in at that 13.17. I have a trailing stop in place, but I might just take profit here now. He's not able to break this 14.59 area. Let's see. I'll just leave the trailing stop in. But I am definitely looking at taking some profit on some of my crypto-based stuff.
Tick is now pushing back up 553 here.
Yeah, advanced decline 65.66. Right is now up 4%.
I
think up 3.84. Q's still running here.
Struggling 94%.
NVIDIA went back above 104.
Market seems to be struggling here, though. Gold is still collapsing here. Yeah, I'm just not. This is a back and forth kind of day. I don't know. I kind of. Money is going back in the dollar here. Keep my eye on crude right now. Tick still up positive 352. I mean, there's nothing. Tick is still positive.
Popping up back above 4.31 here.
Yep. Nasdaq still pushing here a little bit.
VIX at the low of the day, 27.80. Love to see that. We'll say most cryptos are either at the top or above the top of the linear regression, although it's a hugely down pointing linear regression on everything. I think you almost have to take it off of the daily on these. Put it on the 4 hours, it's gonna be a little better. Yeah, that's still has it at the top, even if extending on the 4 hours. Fetch AI might give us a trade today if it can get back down towards that 60 level, 60 cents. I mentioned that one yesterday too. Popped up.
Come on, Bitcoin.
Solana 151 again. I talked to everybody about that when it broke below $100 the other day. Now at 151.
Steve Flanagan says he is on deck in the batter's box. All right.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it.
Yeah, 99.50 now on Dixie here.
Pegasystems now up 30%, 89.56 here. Wow. Luminant Holdings now up 16.55% too. Semtech up 16%. Kingsoft Cloud Holdings up 14.53%. So that's AI and China. That's your double whammy. Tempest AI, like I spoke about, up 14.3%. So, man, yeah, still moving up. Even the AI names. Credo Technology, another AI name, up 12.94% so far this morning. AppLovin up 11.96%. Robinhood now up 11.78% here. Vistra up 11.05%. Also, Space back in the green here today. AST Space Mobile up another 10.85%. It's coming up on resistance too, though. A lot of these are just doing the same jump back up that they did a week ago. We'll see if any of these hold strength to get above those levels.
NVIDIA taking a little bit of a dump here.
CQs are stalling out at that 461 level and keep pulling back from it. So we are seeing a little bit of a stall out. VIX has come back above that 28 level here. 6,500 on the advanced decline line right now. Dow Jones up 2.57%. SPY up 3.01%. Like I said, the Qs are up 3.58%. Was up over 4%, now up 3.96%. Bitcoin struggling to hold that 94 area back down at 93,500. Has seemed to be support so far this morning. Ethereum did lose that 1,800 handle. Don't like to see that. And gold got pummeled here, down at 32.75 now. So again, money moving into stocks, out of gold, out of Bitcoin. CrowdStrike up 6% here.
Yeah, this is gold's worst 2 days in 12 years.
Foot Locker up 8% here today. Wow. Things really get that much better at Foot Locker?
No, but I think that people are, I think I said this, right? I like Nike. I think that the new shoes coming out are good, and people can go try them.
One of the main reasons that Nike is a better buy now is that they've improved their e-commerce themselves.
Correct. They have, yes.
So that comes at the behest of Foot Locker. Like you and I have said, I still don't see many people at malls.
Right, but I also think Foot Locker isn't just at malls anymore. They have their own, their own stores, which I do like. Okay, come on, let's get back up to selling.
It has gone slightly negative here.
Yep, it has.
We are still sliding here, so we are seeing a slide off here as we exit sort of the algo trading 20 minutes, as I like to call it here. Nvidia's seeing a little bit of a sell-off here.
Yeah, I had a feeling that this was kind of the nervousness in the market is still pretty prevalent right now.
Microsoft's still moving to the upside. Google's still moving to the upside. Amazon. So it's a mixed bag. Tesla selling big selling Tesla.
Yeah.
Wow, that jumped in 1 minute from 255 to 246. Whew. They're all just moving. Bitcoin down to 93,170 here.
Yeah, this is real strong selling here. I'm not liking the selling here at all.
Gold 32.76. Q's back at 460. So the broader market still, the ETFs are still trying to hold. Individuals are getting hit. So we've seen a move from one stock to another. Not necessarily back out to cash yet.
Tick is literally flat.
VIX is sliding it back above that 28 level too, so keep an eye on that. There it goes back below it. There we go. That could give some breathing room again.
About to break below 93,000 there on Bitcoin. Ouch. Come on, baby. Stop that selling.
Gold now 3.2% to the downside.
Dollar continued to push higher here, 99.58. Now I think that's probably what's we just lost 93,000 on Bitcoin.
Nice move to the upside by Baba today, up 5.2%. Best Buy up 5.59% today. Nice move to the upside also. SMCI up 12%.
I am interested at 10:30 here. What's going to happen in the oil market here? We're going to see EIA numbers. So yeah, if inventories are up a bit, I think inventories will be up quite a bit actually.
They should be based on what everybody said they were bringing in before the tariffs.
Correct. Yeah. I think the number is somewhere around 1.6 million barrels. I think we could see almost up to 2.
Okay, I see Mr. Flanagan's in the room. We'll get off the charts here and get him in here
10
with us.
o'clock, baby. Let's go. Let's get him in here. Oh, what was that pop for? 10 o'clock news.
A couple of numbers released, no doubt.
Yeah.
How are we doing today, Mr. Flanagan?
Yeah, I'm doing really good. And I can only say when the markets get focused on one single subject, tariffs, this is the reactions that we get in all of the markets, because every single algo trader, name it, is going to react in the same direction at the same moment on one topic. And it's very difficult to trade, probably some of the most difficult market that I think I've seen in a 40-year career.
Yeah, wow. New home sales rising 7.4% here, a month over month. Estimate was 1.3%. That's a huge number there. Oof. See, I want you to send me your resume. I think we need to send you the White House. You could be the new communications director of the White House. I think it's probably better than Carolyn Levitt right now. Look, I think part of the problem is that we don't know exactly what is the actual thought process of the president. He's gone back and forth. Besant, and we know Lutnick was now chatting with the president about laying off of Fed governors and Fed chair. I asked you this last week. I think I have to ask this again. What if you had the ear of the president right now? What would you say to him again?
I'm going to stick with my theory, Steve. We need a positive here. And that's exactly what suddenly is coming out of the White House. Look, the guy I follow is Scott Bessent. He's the Treasury. He's the guy in the steering wheel. So while Trump may be yelling out as navigator which way he wants to go, it's Bessent who's got all the controls around him. And so that's the guy I'm watching. And I do believe that, there's been some voices of reason that have come into the Oval Office, especially after the comments about getting rid of the Fed. Look, this man loves disruption. I don't disagree that in order to get the policies of change in place, there has to be disruption, but it's got to be a short term. It cannot be something that goes on. As look at what money has done in this marketplace. I started to go through some of the tick data, and the last tick data, which came out in April, actually doesn't show in it shows February. There's a 2-month delay, but in February, you had a net $290 billion inflow to U.S. Treasuries. So on April 2nd, is there any, reason why we saw the reaction of money moving out of the U.S. that had just moved in? Because uncertainty is the worst emotion you want to throw into a trading environment, because it brings in fear. So a lot of these actions that we've seen can really be seen in the data. All the money moved in, and then suddenly the shock and awe, and all the money is moved out. Now, that sets up my theory of the financial rat trap.
Ooh, financial rat trap. I like that. I'm going to post that. Financial rat trap. So tell us, what is the financial rat trap?
Money moves. It's in perpetual motion, right? Models, electronic models, computers are all geared into every single marketplace, and they are in continuous and perpetual motion. This is a historic type of move. I think when June comes and we see what happened in April, I think the outflow from the U.S. Treasury market is going to hit historic proportions.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think what that means is the money is all moved out. The number one currency of liquidity is the euro, because when you move that money, you have to have liquidity. And that is only the euro dollar. And the euro dollar has come up to significant highs, 115 and change. So that is the rat trap. Money is all moved out. And then suddenly, because they've never seen a disruptive president like this, and then
You
suddenly,
have though. This is not the first term;
The
it's the
second
term.
term.
Wait.
You forget? I know. You forget those years?
no, I agree with you guys. We saw him the first time, but come on.
But
You've
not
got
to love what you're saying, right?
not this level of disruption, right? Because now he has his band of merry men all around him that he can now make these disruptive comments. So the world has never seen this, and financial markets based on historical models all look back and say, what? What do you mean tariffs are 125%, 145%? So the financial rat trap is money is completely moved into other areas. Now, while I can back up German bunds have outperformed treasuries by the widest margin on record.
That's true.
Because of this outflow, European shares have been crushed, but they're still resilient in relation to the United States. So all this money, and this comes on Germany, a timely pledge to put billions into defense and infrastructure. That's an incredible thing for Europe, a big positive, but all the money's moved. And now it's got to look back and suddenly see the president saying, yeah, we don't intend to keep these things against China. We want to look for a reconciliation between them.
But I posted that this morning. Okay, so let's talk about that. That's a very good point. But I think that the damage is done. I think you look at it now and I think, well, okay, he did it now, but when's he going to do it again, right? And he's got 4 more years of this, right? We've got 3.5 more years, 2 years to go till the midterms. What's the next thing he's going to do before we have another financial rat trap issue?
A rationally minded person like us would say you're absolutely right. However, let us take the fundamentals of what creates trading and its price and yield. Okay. And bigger. You don't get paid to be sitting in currencies such as the euro in there where it's not beginning to grow. Money has to move because they all get paid a bonus on performance. And if the situation in the U.S. begins to turn, as we see in numbers today and so far this week, it will be a magnet. It has to move, Steve. Rationally minded people would say, I can't move because of a next tweet. But unfortunately, you only are going to be criticized if you do not follow the bouncing ball. And that's the way our financial markets, in the simplest format, work.
Okay. Let me boil this down. So Are you saying that he is socially and financially engineering the markets?
Ooh, that's a big step to take, Steve. But I would say that a businessman and surrounded by other businessmen certainly have a good understanding of how
insider trading.
Well,
I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene, we've seen it. We've seen the president say, now's a good time to buy. He tweeted that not 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
I mean, is he engineering the markets and saying, is he timing the markets and saying, as of this morning, we saw the rates come down. It just feels like he might be socially engineering this market.
Well, I would have to answer that with another question, Steve. And I would speak with a bit of, background on this one. Do you think that our financial markets haven't been financially engineered all along? Maybe now it's just become more apparent.
Not to this level. I mean, this is the White House now. This is not just some talking head and crazy person like me. This is actually the president of the United States.
I totally agree. Not to this level. But then nothing has been at this level ever.
That's true. Yes.
Right. So this is a massive change to all of us. And we've got 3.5 years left. And it's not going to go away.
So maybe another time. I mean, you and I have been doing this. I mean, we have a combined 70 freaking years of this, right? I mean, talk to me. Tell me, is there another time period that we can look back and say, okay, I understand what he's saying. I think I can follow the bouncing ball, as you say. I think I can understand what he's doing. He talked about tariffs since the 80s. Okay, I get all that. But now's the time to buy. Now's the time to sell. Now's the time to buy. I mean, that seems almost like I can't follow along with him anymore.
No, neither can I. And I've never seen a time like this. I've never seen a time like this. But certainly at a time when suddenly all the polls are beginning to say, hey, wow, everybody's suddenly looking at their 401k and going,
wait. Now you're saying look at the polls? Because last week you said
the polls don't matter. I do remember that. I have no side in this fight, but I will be the voice of reason. That was said last week by Mr. Flanagan looking at my notes.
Okay. One thing that we'll get used to in talking to Mr. Flanagan is as a spot trader, right? As a spot trader,
right?
That's right. We are very quick to change, but I don't watch.
So wait, you're able to turn that boat around without a wake?
Oh, baby, I'm a submarine. But I don't follow polls. I really don't. I do know
we had to do that. Listen,
yeah, that's good.
I went off on Steve.
That was too easy. I'm sorry.
He played victory on Bitcoin, so I had to give him a hard time. So
I left an opening there. Yep, I left a good opening there.
You have to be quick to change, though. I think that is an important note. Is that a couple of things that you've said are very important. This is something we haven't seen. You haven't seen in 40 years.
Right.
I keep putting up what, Besant, who you brought up as being the voice of reason, is on the offensive while we're on the air, by the way.
Correct.
He's going right after China right now. I've been putting up the quotes that the IMF needs to stop treating China as a developing nation. If China wants to be on the, if the World Bank treats China, the second largest economy in the world, as a developing country, it's absurd. If China wants to play a role in the global economy commensurate with their actual importance, the nation needs to graduate up. And again, I'm not saying I disagree with these comments, but he's the voice of reason for us in the world stage right now. That's a little scary, these type of lines. And in fact, he said, I'm sorry, I'm looking, he just had another whoppy of one there about that they need to worry about their own, stop over exporting as a way to, make money and start supporting their own infrastructure. So again, it's just, these are the things that are a little nerve-wracking to me, because I do agree. I think he is the sound mind and the voice of reason. And I don't, if Lutnick and JD Vance are the two pit bulls on the chain, that's fine. But then Besant needs to be the guy holding those chains.
But Howard Lutnick, as Secretary of Commerce, is also the president and still CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald, a trading firm. Yeah. So he's not going to be saying, please, Mr. President, say something that goes against my book.
Which, by the way, I will mention, just announced a new deal with Tether to be even further entrenched into Bitcoin yesterday. Cantor Fitzgerald partnered with Tether for another 1.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see anybody being against crypto with this administration. This administration is about as crypto-friendly as it gets. I mean, we got what we wanted in a lot of ways.
I'd have to ask, though, what did Scott Bessent say that doesn't make a lot of sense to everybody in the world? I mean, how long is China a developing nation? Right?
Absolutely. I mean, they have taken over the world when it comes to trade with Africa and LATAM. And I mean, I saw a chart yesterday that just was scary to me, where in 2020, the United States was looking pretty good around the world as the number one trading partner. And today, number one trading partner is mostly China.
Yep. And, in that relationship, one only has to, part of my anchor of why I say the dollar will, be much higher this year is Europe. Europe's relationship in China is deeply entrenched.
Correct.
And that could become and I think that's what's waking Europe up, is that, whoa, we didn't realize. And keep in mind, we're not talking about China from a point of strength. Yes, they're coming out with great inventions in the AI world, and they're blowing people away. But this is a country that is now becoming firmly down the path of deflation. And that wrecks an economy.
Oil just dropped $2 a barrel here, as several OPEC members want the group to approve another accelerated oil output increase for June. Just coming out here right now.
What a stimulus that is to the economy, right?
Yes, that would be.
Yep. So, I mean, if we look around the world is kind of in an economic malaise right now and crumbling here. I mentioned China, but then let's talk about the Eurozone consumer inflation, minus 16.7 from a minus 14.5. UK PMI today, oh my goodness, cratered down to the service sector of 48.9 from 52.5, and
Right.
manufacturing down to 44 from 44.9. So the world is not in an economic strength position right now. And you're already seeing the Bundesbank, the German central bank, which is a member of the European Central Bank, coming out, Nagel today, talking that the world economy is in a very delicate situation. And we need to have a better understanding how to find a compromise in tariffs. That is the bottom line.
Change. I mean, they went from not wanting tariffs at all anywhere to, well, we got to find a compromise. I guess we're going to have to live with it. Then I think the president has won in a lot of ways, and saying then that's changing the whole narrative a little bit. So the president is getting his way, but just a little bit differently. I like that. Look, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and Steve, let's face it, the Bundesbank is the anchor out in Europe. So also he said it's not good to doubt the US dollar's position as a safe haven. And we should give back to the US Treasury the safe haven status. So you can understand that some of these old school, central bankers, they are very unnerved by what the economic situation is right now. And that's where I think the compromise, and that's where I think the solutions come. And that, I believe, is the whole game plan here. Unfortunately,
White House now says that they would look at lowering tariffs on Chinese imports pending talks with Beijing. That's changing their tune again now. Once again, they've changed their tune. And now we're seeing some sellers coming back in the market here a little bit. Tick down almost 900 now on the back of that news there.
Yep. And China said that they need to see the U.S. show something, some bending. And so here's the U.S. bending. But now China's got to follow through and come to the table. Look, there's no denying they're the second largest, economy in the world. And they've got to, if they want to roll in the world, they've got to start acting in a manner that leads, not, takes advantage. And that is the point. They take advantage of the world. Why isn't there any AI companies out of Europe? Okay, there's one out of the Netherlands, but why aren't, Europe is totally missing in that realm because China has just totally outflanked them.
Well, I mean, I think Europe in general, obviously Switzerland is probably another country that's how good on blockchain and AI. But AI is a U.S. product. I mean, we built the damn thing, right? And China stole it. I'm just gonna say it out loud. But I don't think that people are comfortable with China having our data as we are with the U.S. with ChatGPT or Anthropic or whatever. I mean, the companies that are inventing the AI. I mean, this is my area. The companies that are inventing AI are more of those companies that we're so used to anyway. Facebook, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, they're the ones that are producing the AI off of the persistence of ChatGPT, right? It's all came from one. And of course, now we know that with Tesla, right, with Grok and Twitter. So I understand that, right? But with DeepSeek, we now know that there's taking our identities and things like that. I don't want anything to do with that, and I think that's why. But I think Europe in general is just waiting to see who wins, and then they'll go along with that, right? They don't really have a social media presence. Their social media is Facebook. Their social media is WhatsApp, things that are built by the United States. So I think they're waiting on what we're doing on the AI side. But that's just my opinion on that one.
Yeah, and long ago, the person, I forget who it was, but said the person who controls the data controls the next stage. And that is really it. And the US has woken up probably a little late, maybe not too late, but a little late in the fact that the data has been allowed to be, exported out.
Agreed. My goodness, 10:20 already. Steve, I have to ask. I mean, let's get to the currencies. I mean, spot gold might have been literally the worst thing, but it might have been the best trade all day, just short and gold all day. Now 99.43 on the Dixie here. Where's the safe trade? You've been talking about it from the yen side for a while, but
so what we have, to the viewers here, this is an incredible time to watch your currency markets. Why? Because we have the tumultuous last week. So therefore, we have a definitive level to look at. For example, in the Dixie, Friday's close was 99.02. Here we are at midweek above the number. Was it a spike low? Every single stock, but every currency has a spike low with the dollar. In other words, the dollar has hit its lows. Whether it's the euro up at 115 and change, the euro's close last week was 113.89. Where are we today? We're around the 113.61. So we're below that. The interesting currency is the sterling, presently at 132.91. Last Friday's close was right there, 132.91. However, Howard, if you have a sterling chart, I could really just show you a perfect thing to watch here, because historically, and history does give us a little bit of a path that we should be referring to. The last time we were at these levels was we had a closing level of 132.85, and I believe that was in September of 24. Now, why do I bring that up? Because there was a close the high was 135 in September, and the closing level before we broke down was 132.85. So I gave you 132.91 last Friday's close. 132.85 was the chart pattern. When it broke, we've been only coming down. You're at incredible levels. Watch currencies. As I said, a financial rat trap, in my estimation, is everybody has moved out of the dollar and the US, and they will end up being forced back in to some degree. But these will give you good levels. If I'm going to be right in my analysis, watch these levels carefully. If the dollar begins to strengthen, these levels are the levels that you would react to. They're very close to our present level. So they give you great charting points or great levels to use your risk management.
Absolutely. Any other currencies you're looking at right now, Mr. Flanagan?
Well, dollar MEX is always a beauty. At a 9% exchange interest rate, if the world has stability, money is going to pour into a 9% currency rate and say, I don't want to touch anything else. Just let me earn some yield. And MEX has performed very well. But that can be very subject to tariff talk. So, that's one, if you're going to go in on, you're going to have your finger on the trigger, or, as you've been saying all morning, both of you, trail your stop loss.
Absolutely. What do we think about USD yen right now? Back up at 142.38. Did we hit our lows?
Well, when you get to the 140 level, which we just did, that's when Japan suddenly starts to squeal, because they don't want to see a tumultuous move down into the 130s, because they're fragile. They're coming out of a 25-year battle of deflation. They're finally getting growth and some wage inflation. The currency, since they are a huge exporter, determines a lot of their economy. So I do expect dollar yen to trade back up to 145, 147. If we looked at the yen, I don't have the closing Friday level right with me right here, but I'm sure that we are sitting above it right now.
Friday's close was right around 142.11.
Right, so we're at 142.43 right now. Another currency giving us, the yen is the one. It's a safe haven. If we trade back below the 142 level, the situation is still fluid, and you want to be very quick, because volatility will remain here for the rest of this month. And I only think that volatility begins to ebb as the month unfolds and we get into May, and assure if we see any agreements in the tariff front.
Absolutely.
All right, Steve Flanagan.
Well, I will say Qs are moving back up a little bit, but it does seem we're not far from where we opened up the morning, 460.88 here. Up about 3.68% on the day. SPY is right at 542.80. Again, it's slightly up from where it opened, but we're not seeing much of a move since the open here. We're already pretty much at most of the places that we were as the pre-markets open this morning. The highs of the pre-market trading are definitely our main concerns here. So we need to break this 464.25 that we saw earlier on, the Qs and the SPY. In my opinion, you got to break above here. We're almost at it, 457 or 547, excuse me. Man, my dyslexia really kicking in there. And, that's what we're seeing so far. Gold still getting hit. Bitcoin down at 93,196 here. So seeing a little bit of, just sideways trading since that open started on the cash market. I do think it's probably what we see out through most of the day. I think we finish up about 3.5% on the Qs and up around 3% on the SPY.
And if Steve is correct on our financial engineering, which I believe, then let's watch what Google's earnings are this week and find out if suddenly they have, as they did last March, if they in April, if they suddenly announce an increased buyback. And then Apple
wouldn't surprise me with their stock price down. Also, that would lead to, usually sometimes they think it's better value.
I mean, we are seeing. You're right. I mean, we are seeing the largest buyback, insider buying of stock in history right now. So that is interesting. Yes, that's a very good point, actually, Steve.
There you go. Your financial engineering at play.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Thank you for Mr. Flanagan, like always. BigBeat. Thank you, sir.
I learned one thing today, Howard. Financial rat trap.
That's it, baby. I love it. That is a good one.
Financial rat trap. That's it, baby.
Okay, everybody. Thank you for joining us. All 1,300 of you. Thank you so much.